And great, we will go ahead and get started. My name is Amira Alvarado, and I'm the Regional Assistant Director for Baylor in admissions. I actually am based in Southern California, so it's still morning, pretty early in the morning over here. And today we are going to be learning about communication science and disorders, one of our really great programs. And I will now pass it over to Dr. Loeb and let her take over. I do want to encourage you all, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A. And if she doesn't get to them in her presentation, we'll be sure to ask those at the end. So again, drop them in the Q&A and we will get to those questions. Okay, take it away, Dr. Loeb.
Thank you, Amira. I really appreciate that. And it's so great that everybody could join today. Appreciate you spending your early Saturday with me to learn more about communication sciences and disorders. My name is Diane Loeb, and I'm the chair of the Communication Sciences and Disorders Department. And I've been the chair for, this is my 5th year. Before that, I was at the University of Kansas. And I just love being a Baylor Bear, and I think it's a great place to be. We have an amazing department, amazing students, and amazing faculty. So it's my pleasure to be able to share information about our department with you and to answer any questions you might have. Not a lot of people know about what communication sciences and disorders a person with a degree in that area can do. So I want to spend a little bit of time talking with you about that. And just to remind you, if you don't already know, there's at least 40 million Americans who have communication disorders. And on this slide here, I have some celebrities who you may or may not know had some sort of a communication disorder, whether it be a reading disorder or dyslexia or stuttering or a voice disorder or some sort of a stroke. Or cleft lip and palate, we have also represented on the screen. So from political dignitaries to celebrity sports people to actors and writers, there's a wide range of individuals in this world who have communication disorders or who have suffered from something that has interfered with their ability to communicate. Or we also in our scope of practice have reading and swallowing and feeding. So that is also involved as well. And you may know somebody in your family, maybe a brother or sister, maybe even yourself, or mother, father, a grandparent, uncle, who has some sort of a communication disorder. And that may be how you know about this field. In communication sciences and disorders at Baylor University, we very much see this as a ministry, a calling. Our faculty are Christian, and we are all either audiologists or speech language pathologists or speech and hearing scientists or deaf educators. And we see this as a very challenging profession because it involves so much knowledge of about the brain and anatomy and hearing systems, and also about creativity and knowing how to work with people. So if you want to have an opportunity to change people's lives in a positive way and make a difference in the world, this is a great field to be in. I've been a speech language pathologist for close to, oh my golly, 37 years. And I just love it. My specialty is working with children in the area of pediatrics, and most recently in the area of babies born preterm. So I'm very, very excited, and we certainly excited to be able to share this with you. And we want to be the light in the world as we're asked to be in Matthew 5:14. A little bit about the Department of Communication Sciences and Disorders. We have an undergraduate program, a master's program, and a doctoral program. Our undergraduate program, we have about 300 students in that at different levels of freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior. We probably graduate in each of those classes between, I would say, around 75 students in each of those cohorts. You can earn a SLP or speech language pathology major in our undergraduate program, or a deaf education major. We also offer a minor in American Sign Language. In terms of our graduate programs, we have a master's program that is residential. It is an accelerated residential program, so it's 4 semesters as opposed to typical 5 or 6 semesters across the country. We also have launched in 2019 an online graduate program, And this is, it's not, I'd hesitate to say online, it's hybrid. So we have, you go to a classroom, but it's online and you have an instructor who's online as well. So it isn't a matter of you don't go to class. You do go to class, but you go to class virtually. We also just launched this last fall, our doctoral program, a research doctorate program in CSD. So this is a rather new program. We're very excited about it and very excited about contributing to the field. Our programs our master's programs are accredited by the Council of Academic Accreditation in Audiology and Speech Language Pathology, and that tells you that we meet a standard that's required in speech language pathology and audiology. A little bit of information about what is a speech language pathologist or an SLP. Those are individuals who are professionals who work in the prevention, diagnosis, and treatment of communication disorders and swallowing. And this is across the age range from babies born preterm to well over 100. So you may focus on pediatrics or more of the geriatric population or people in between. And some people treat all of these individuals. So it's a very, what I love about the field is you can specialize once you get to a certain level. However, you also can be very general. There are approximately 51 speech language pathologists for every 100,000 residents. The mean annual salary is around 80,000 according to the last 80,700 according to the last Bureau of Labor Statistics. And that varies depending on where you're at. There are some places where it's more expensive to live, so you make more. There are some places where it's less expensive to live and you make less. So there's a range of that. That's the mean. There's a great need and have continued even since when I graduated back in the 1980s for speech language pathologists, and there continues to be throughout the country. So it's the type of a field where you can easily get them. Not easily, you can, if you're qualified, you can get employment. And if you go to our program, you come out very qualified. And it's a rigorous program of study, and yet you are highly qualified when you finish. And Baylor has a very good reputation in this area. Let's see, what else can I say about communication sciences and disorders? These are different areas that we, in our clinic, we have a clinic on campus, the Baylor Speech Language and Hearing Clinic. These are different areas that we have clinics in. We have a general clinic. We have a language and literacy clinic. We also work with individuals who have speech or articulation difficulties. We have a voice clinic. We also work with individuals who have stuttering difficulties. We have a new feeding and swallowing clinic and a concussion management clinic as well. We work with individuals with aphasia or who've had stroke or neurological disorders. We have a neural rehab clinic. Let's see, we also have just started or we just expanded, thanks to a donor, our autism spectrum disorder clinic. So that's leading us to a whole new area where we're able to do some pretty exciting work. When you finish your degree, when you finish your master's, you need a master's to practice in speech language pathology. You might want to work in a hospital or a rehab facility, schools, private clinics, universities, or private therapies, or your own private therapy. So there's lots of possibilities of where you might go. About half, a little over 50% end up working in the school setting, and the other 49% is distributed across these other types of locations. If you're interested in audiology, then you'd have a chance to work with individuals who might have sensory neural hearing impairments or conductive hearing impairment, or even now cochlear implants as well, with people who are born deaf and who choose to go the route of a cochlear implant. There's also auditory processing disorders, which is a disorder that is diagnosed by an audiologist. The types of things you would do is hearing testing, hearing aid fitting, auditory training, speech reading therapy, and specialized testing. In terms of how long does this take to earn a degree? Well, if you earn your bachelor's, that's typically 4 years. And then out of a bachelor's program, you're able to then be a speech language pathology assistant in most states. And this isn't as high as paid. as a master's level, but you'd need to continue on for 2 more years, or we have an accelerated program of 4 semesters to earn your master's as a speech language pathologist. That's the entry level degree for speech language pathology, is the master's. If you wanted to study hearing, we've had many of our students go on to programs that have doctorates of audiology or AUDs, and that typically takes, beyond the bachelor's, it takes 3 years plus a residency year to become an audiologist. If you're interested in a PhD, there are great needs for PhDs in our field. We have shortages in academia and need individuals who are interested in the science and clinical science aspect to go on. And so if you're interested in that, you could pursue that after your bachelor's or after your master's. It really depends on how much clinical experience you want in between. I chose to get my master's and to do my clinical fellowship year before I went on to my PhD, but we certainly have students who have gone on after their bachelor's. And that PhD typically takes 4 to 6 years. 4 is about the average. For deaf education, if you're interested in that, it's again, one of our majors, and it helps to prepare students to become classroom teachers for the deaf and or hard of hearing. There's a great need for teachers in this area. There's great shortages in Texas and across the country. Prepares students for state certification, and careers include, after your bachelor's, to teach deaf and hard of hearing children in K through 12 setting, perhaps work in an early childhood program. And with additional certification, you might be able to teach ASL or American Sign Language at the high school level. American Sign Language, just for those of you who have not been exposed to that, it is a visual gestural multi-layered language with its own syntax and grammar. So it is recognized by most schools across the country as a language, and students at Baylor can take ASL, American Sign Language, to fulfill the language requirement if your major falls under Robbins College, that's where we're at, pre-social work, pre-nursing, pre-business, or linguistics. There's some really great things happening at Baylor CSD. We have, thanks to our transformational donor who contributed a substantial amount of money to our department about 7 years ago, we have a state-of-the-art facility, clinic, and other offices and classrooms. We've expanded our graduate program from 36 per year to 100 per year. That's our residential program. We have about, I would say, I think last count is 380 in our online program for masters. We are increasing our services to the community. We have new creation of clinics, new technology. We have eye tracking devices and devices where we can do coaching within the clinic rooms. And we're also working toward doing some virtual reality types of therapy as well. One of these pictures you see at the top, this is our ASL club. They're very active. They just recently had a 5K, I think it was last Saturday, to support fundraising. We also have 11 to 12 new research labs, and we have about, I would say 8 new research faculty tenure track. So we're really part of that R1 effort here at Baylor to do great translational and clinical research. We also have developed online ASL courses, and we have mission trips and study abroad. We have not been able to travel during COVID, but before COVID, we had trips to Kenya, Ecuador, and also we are working with some partners in Rwanda and public health here at Baylor to set up a medical clinic and to have our students go and help to staff that. I want to end with saying that I know that this is a big time of decision making for all of you, and I just want to encourage you with a scripture from Isaiah 41:10, from some words from the Lord. Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I'll strengthen you, uphold you with my righteous right hand. So our faculty very much believes in praying with our students, praying for our students, and we want you to know that we are a community and a family that recognizes and supports our students in whatever ways we can. And certainly we lead with the Lord. So that's my presentation for today. If you have questions, this is my contact information. I respond pretty quickly to email. So please feel free to email me if you have any questions, and I'm happy to take any questions right now.
Great, thank you so much. There are a couple of questions about how this can work with pre-med.
Okay, and so my understanding is that in pre-med, you would, boy, that's a great question. I think that's in arts and sciences.
I can
Uh,
take that one if you'd like.
yes, please do.
Yeah, sure. So pre-med is a track that you take alongside any major. A lot of students will choose biology or health science studies because so many of those classes in those degree plans are also in the pre-med track. But we'll work, your academic advisor will work with you. So if you want to do communication science and disorders and pre-med, it is kind of a lot. And at some point you might need to make that decision of which kind of final path you want to do if you're planning to become, an MD doctor versus, a speech pathologist or one of the other areas. So you could be in the pre-med track in communication sciences and disorders. You would be aware that there might be extra classes you would have to take over summer sessions, or it might make your 4-year degree a little bit longer, just depending on how we fit everything. It's definitely doable. And then there was a question, can someone get the ASL interpreting certificate while in the program, or is it just a minor or concentration?
It's a minor or a major.
Okay, so there's no certification that they would do or would need?
There used to be a certification in interpreting, and we, to my knowledge, are no longer doing that. But I
Okay,
can give you if you email me, I can give you a contact of the name of a person in our department who directs that program.
perfect. And then the last question that we have right now is, within the medical, could communication science and disorders link neuroscience and psychology, or are they more separate, I guess is maybe the question.
Well, that's a great question. We've just recently added to our bachelor's a required course called CSD in neuroscience. And so it's very important actually for our majors to have an understanding of neuroscience, because so many of, if not all, of our the communication disorders, swallowing, have to do with the functioning of the brain, and the neuroscience associated with how the brain works and executes information that it receives or that it needs to output. So we have had majors who have also taken other neuroscience classes. I don't know if you can do a dual major. Probably Amira can answer that better than I can, and what that would look like. I think our program has been pretty good about, we haven't filled it up so high with requirements that there aren't enough electives that you can get that more, as much information as you would need with the elective courses. I myself have a keen interest, and that's why I came to the field. I had a keen interest, and continue to, in how the brain works and its association with language and language disorders, particularly in children. So neuroscience is very important to everything that we do. And so the more that you know about that area, if you wanted to focus on this area as a career, then you're really just better off, I guess, is what I'm looking for. Those words, it'll benefit you.
Yeah, that's great. And I would say that in my understanding of the program, you really are getting all the information, the classes, everything you need to be successful beyond, graduation. So you don't have to feel like you have to add all of these up, unless of course you do have that interest. And to answer the question, for double majors, as long as the major is in the same degree plan, you would be able to. So otherwise you'd have to either look at a secondary major or minor. So those are things you can talk with your admissions counselor about when it gets to that point. There was a question about being a strong psychology student in their junior year enough for them to do communication science disorders. And I think the question is probably, what do they need to be prepared, or can they just come in with whatever their high school graduation requirements are and be successful in this field?
Yes, you can come in with your high school requirements and be successful in the field. We do have, really, our students can start taking classes as early as freshmen. We encourage that so that you get an understanding of what the field is about. And at the same time, we've also had individuals who were in another major and switch over to us in their junior and senior year. So either level of entry is fine. I think that, let's see, you have an opportunity to get more involved with research, which we highly encourage as an undergraduate if you start earlier in the track. We don't have you don't apply to become part of a communication sciences and disorders program or either of the majors, but you do have to, for speech language pathology, you do have to earn a grade of B in the first 4 classes, which are required. So you have to have a 3.0 average to continue on with the rest of the classes.
Perfect. Well, that's all the questions I'm seeing. We'll maybe wait another minute and see if there's any more, because we do have just a few more minutes. But if not, thank you all for joining us. Thank you for taking some time to learn about Baylor and specifically CSD. I was telling Dr. Loeb before that I went to Baylor many years ago. I should have majored in this. It's an amazing profession. So we wish you all the best. Enjoy the rest of the day. Feel free to jump into other sessions. And if you need anything, you can reach out to admissions@baylor.edu. If you have questions about CSD, you can reach out to Dr. Loeb directly, and have a wonderful afternoon and sic 'em Bears.
Thank you.